In this video, I will explain how to build a web application like this one. So this one is a very simple one. It just computes the resulting global sound pressure level in decibel when we have multiple sound sources. So here I have only one source with a sound pressure level of 50 dB. So the resulting global level is the one of my source. But if I had a second sound source with 50 dB of level, I get a resulting global level of 53. And if I have 10 of these sources with levels around 50 dBs, I will get something for the resulting global level, which is around 60. So the equations are here, but I assume that you all know that. So what do we need to build such kind of application? We will need a text editor, so you can use it, use whatever editor you want. On my side, I will use Visual Studio Code by Microsoft, but you can find the same code for Mac OS and Linux. And we will need to build two kinds of files. One type of file is a HTML file. So here is this one, index.html. And the other type of file we will have to build is a JavaScript file, so the controller.js here. I just go to the top of it and go back to the HTML file. So what do we need in this HTML file? So just some kind of special tag, so special thing into brackets, which says that this is an HTML file, and then you have a starting HTML file like this one, and a closing one HTML tag, which is this one. And in the middle of these HTML tags, you have a head, which is here, so which is up there. So the starting tag and the ending tag. And in the middle, we have some information about what will be the encoding. So if you don't know, just leave it as is. And some information about the viewport. So it's just used to change how the page will be displayed on small screens like phones, or on larger screens like desktop computer. And here we have into titles tags the name of our application that will be displayed here. These are additional information tags that will be used to load JavaScript library, which is called Catech. So everything is in the GitHub directory. I will get back to that in a few minutes. So these extra tags are used to display the equations you can see on the screen, and the equations are made of just LaTeX equations. So why I'm using Visual Studio Code is just because if you type like HTML, and this is version 5 of HTML, so if you type this, the editor will help you and will build most of the tags you need, and the ones are the one I will leave in a directory. So on the GitHub page, where you can find a link on the abstract of this presentation, you will see 0 steps. So this is step 0, and this is an example of what should be the skeleton of a HTML file, so this one. And we'll put what we need inside the body tags. So you can use this page if you want to build another project, but I've built my own project in another directory, which is the one step. You can see that there's an HTML file, so this is this one. The beginning is exactly the same, and just inside the body tags, I've put some more information that I will explain, and you will find the controller.js and another library which is named numscrumber.js and the Catech directory to show equations. So what we need inside the body tag you can find. So this is something that you can just forget. It's just to change the feel of the look and feel of what will be the information inside the HTML tag. So one important tag is this one. This is an input tag saying that I'm waiting for, so this is to build an input field. I'm waiting for a number. The default value will be 50, the mean value will be 0, and the max value will be 100. And then I'm adding some special information here, saying that this input text field should be modified by the num-scrumber JavaScript library, so that it will appear a bit differently. And so the first input field is this one, and the num-scrumber library is just allowing me to to click and drag the value instead of just entering a value, like entering like 50, 61, and 73, for example, but just to click and drag to change the value. Can reload the page. And okay, so the default value is 50. So this is what we can see here. There's also default value for the other ones, but the 9 or other ones, but we will get rid of it in a few minutes. And we give an identification for the tag. So this will be the level for the first sound source. This L1 will be the level for the second source, and etc. And we will have here BR is for break, so I would like a new line, and I add some text, resulting global level, and a special tag, which is a span, which it means just a portion of text. It has an identification, which is result, and currently there is nothing here, there is no value, but I will add values in it when I will use my controller.js. So, and these are the equations. All the equations are written to appear on the screen. So here, the important thing is that I'm loading for the catex for the equations, num-scrumber to change the behavior of the input fields, and the controller.js. So I'm using the name controller, but you can change it to whatever you want. And this is where we will do the computation. How we will compute the resulting global sound pressure level. And if I open this controller.js file, it starts with a specific order saying that I don't want to have unnamed variables. It's like a clear all if you want in MATLAB. Then I define some constant. So P0 will be the reference for the pressure in Pascal. And as I will not change this value, I can define it as a constant. And then I will define some variables. One will be the sound pressure levels, which is a vector of value. So the default value are 50 and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. This is what we can see here when we reload the page. So either clicking on this button or using Control R. Then I will have a variable which will point to where is inside of my HTML the result span. So where would be the text, and where and what will be the value I will put inside of it, which by default is 0. So the result span is the one that you can find here. So where it says span ID result. Okay, so if I go back to the controller.js, then once I have that, I'm just asking for the browser to say that when everything is loaded, so the HTML with the input fields and the controller.js and all other JS files, just run the init function. And the init function is this one. where I have to initialize the numscramble library by using this command. So this is defined in the numscramble.js file here. And then I will say, okay, so the result span will be the one in my document which have an ID, so get element by ID of results. And then I will do the same for the values of my input field. So I set the default values for the default value for my input text field. The first one will be 50 and the other one will be 0. And the next line is a trick, in fact, which thing that I will set the background of my field. So the first one, the background of my field will be 50% gray and 50% white. It will in fact reflect the value that I have here. So this is what we can see here. I have a field, which is here, with a value of 50, and I have 50% of this background, which is gray, and 50% which is white. And when I change this, I will ask in my controller.js to for the browser to change the percentage of the background which is gray and of the background which is white. So here 25% gray and 75% white. So how can I do that? In my controller.js, I will go for all the input fields I have, and when I click on it, so when the on input functions is here, I will change the background to reflect the change in the value, and the value will be an integer. So I pass integer. This value is the value that has been changed when I'm dragging the value. And I will also change the vector containing all the values of my sun pressure levels. And I will run a function which is update result. And the update result is this one, where I compute the global sun pressure level and I round it to an integer. So this is why we have to fix 0 here. And then I update the span information, saying that the inner HTML part, so inside the HTML of this result span, I will put the value of result. And the compute global sun pressure level is just the mathematical function that you know, like which is the one I've shown on the on this explanation here. So this one. So in 15 minutes, I do not have the time to code everything from scratch, as you've seen, but here you can find a very simple example, and going to the GitHub directory, start with the index.html in the 0-step project, so you can start something new. And if you want, you can find a lot of more example inside the abstract. There's a link to a paper published 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, with a lot of example. And for example, if we go to the APMR website, so apmr.matrix.com, you will find a lot of example in acoustics, where you can see that you can do a lot of things like changing, for example, values like, changing values like this one, and updating a drawing, a plot, and much more of that. And if you want to check at the source of this kind of application, just right click and ask for view page source, or on some browser, you just click Control and U, and you will find the file with all the JavaScript links or HTML, what is coded exactly. Thank you for your attention.